Magnesium. A look at the element magnesium as it relates to plant nutrition. Background. Magnesium is a divalent cation. It is common in most soil from 0.5 to 5 grams per kilogram. The exchangeable magnesium is 4 to 20% of the cation exchange capacity. Calcium, which is also a divalent cation, makes up between 60 and 80% of the cation exchange capacity. Magnesium is normally not bound to organic matter. When it comes to magnesium, it is not tightly bound to the cation exchange capacity, which means you can remove it off with other ions, especially hydrogen, potassium, and aluminum. It can leach at the rate of up to 30 kilograms per hectare per year. Now, when we think about it, it seems like a large amount because that's getting into the groundwater and that's doing other things. Magnesium is something that's very important and it's very soluble. Harvesting plant material for consumption also removes a lot of magnesium. One of the interesting things is leached magnesium can accumulate in waterlogged depressions. An area down at the bottom of a hill that becomes waterlogged can accumulate magnesium in it. Metabolic functions. Over 70% of magnesium is associated with anions such as malate, citrate, carboxyl, and phosphoryl, which means it readily binds with other chemicals. That is very important. Remember when we talk about something like calcium, calcium only binds to the middle lamella. Magnesium can actually be found in other locations. It is found in chlorophyll. This is chlorophyll A. The center part is magnesium. Other molecules like this may have the magnesium replaced by other ions like iron and hemoglobin. There are other replacements for it in other types of materials as well, like cobalt in cobalamin. But 15 to 20% of the magnesium in the plant is found in chlorophyll. Most ATPases, molecules that generate ATP, require magnesium for activation. Magnesium is interesting because it is not tightly bound. It can be picked up using one charge to hold on to it, one charge to grab something else, and then that other part can be brought in. Magnesium is a very useful ion. It is used for the activation of rubisco. It is extremely important in photosynthesis, not only because its presence in chlorophyll, but also because it helps activate rubisco. Magnesium is a cation that neutralizes the indiffusible anions of the thylakoid membrane. So if you've got an indiffusible anions that's stuck in the membrane, magnesium, since it has two charges, has the ability to grab onto one of the anions in the thylakoid membrane, which allows it to bridge onto something else, which in this case you're looking at an adenosine. This allows for the molecule to be held so that phosphorylation could occur. Another function that it has is in ribozymes. Ribozymes are small segments of RNA that catalyze reactions, and they often use magnesium as a cation. Again, it is not tightly bound. It will only hold a chemical and allow it to stay in place until it can be used. Ribozymes are used to bind transfer RNA to the ribosome. So this is an RNA piece that helps the transfer RNA to bind to the ribosome. You've got an RNA message. The ribozyme finds the right pair. With the magnesium in the middle, it allows the RNA to be cleaved. It actually works like a pair of snippers. Method of uptake. Magnesium is absorbed as a divalent cation. It is easily translocated within the plant. It can be depressed by potassium and ammonia. Increased potassium decreases magnesium concentration in the leaves and roots, but increases magnesium concentration in fruits and seeds. Now wait a sec. You get competition between the potassium and the magnesium. Potassium wins, but that only occurs in the leaves and the roots. The plant guarantees concentration in the fruits and the seeds. The fruits and the seeds need the magnesium when they first germinate. They need magnesium before they have a chance to absorb other ions. Sufficiency. Sufficiency in the plant is somewhere above 2 milligrams per gram of dry matter, which is 0.2%. You may need to apply over 30 kilograms per hectare per year, and that is a fairly large amount, 66 pounds. If the magnesium is not pure magnesium, that's going to take hundreds of kilograms on an annual basis per hectare. This will make up for losses to leaching and crop removal. Deficiency. When you have deficiency begins with the older leaves. Magnesium is mobile. It is not tightly bound to anything. Since it is mobile, it will move to another part of the plant. You often get interveinal chlorosis. This shows a corn leaf with interveinal chlorosis in between the veins, not on the veins themselves. It's moving away from the in-between part to where the vein is. That retains vein functioning. With rubisco interference, decreased carbon fixation occurs. A deficiency is going to mess up on rubisco as well. This occurs somewhere below 2 milligrams per gram of dry matter. Now, excess fertilizer of potassium or ammonia depresses magnesium. You always have to be careful of how much do I have in the soil in order to get the right amount in the plant tissue. Luxury consumption is not known to occur because magnesium goes wherever it is needed within the plant. All soils tend to have magnesium, which is very important. Too much magnesium decreases potassium uptake and is therefore harmful. If you had luxury consumption, it would interfere with your potassium and be harmful to the plant. This is another reason why you don't get luxury consumption of magnesium. Toxicity. Magnesium toxicity in plants is rare. However, toxicity does not occur if your calcium to magnesium ratio is 1 or higher. If you've got more calcium than the magnesium, you're not going to get toxicity. The question always is, since magnesium depresses potassium, if you've got too much magnesium in the plant, is it a magnesium toxicity or is it a potassium deficiency? Sources. Dolomitic lime, which is a magnesium carbonate calcium carbonate combination, is a slow release material that is used to change soil pH. It has calcium carbonate in it and therefore it is slow released. This needs to be applied at least 6 weeks before planting. Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate, is a rapid release and can be applied aqueously. That means you mix it in water and then apply it. It's readily available magnesium. Epsom salts is something you can buy in the supermarket. Epsom salts is often used as a bath salt. It is also used for cleansing out the digestive system, but it is a very soluble form of magnesium. Artificial application. Dolomitic lime is applied as a source of calcium and magnesium. Remember, anytime you've got magnesium and you're putting magnesium down, you want to put down calcium at the same time because you want to make sure that calcium-magnesium ratio stays the same. Both of them work in the same way as far as lime goes. Go back and review what was said about calcium when we were talking about it being used as a liming material, because same things apply here. It corrects pH and therefore reduces aluminum. Rates of application are 50 to 100 kilograms magnesium per hectare, which can be somewhere in the vicinity of 500 to 1,000 kilograms of dolomite. So we are talking about a ton or so per hectare, which sounds like an awful lot, but in this particular case it is not, because it also affects the pH and availability of other material. Again, 6 weeks before you plan on cropping. Epsom salts. You can take 35 kilograms of Epsom salt, dissolve it in 400 liters of water, and apply that per hectare. It is a very rapid sort of thing that you can actually use for spot treatment if you have that need. If you've got a smaller area, you can apply it in a soluble form. Again, when you plan on gardening or planting, you always want to plan weeks ahead of time so that you can apply and correct the soil pH. Now the last part. Magnesium levels are very important in pasture. When you get to selenium, we will talk about locoweed, which has excess selenium. If you do not have sufficient magnesium in herbage, that will result in a disease called grass tetany, which is hypomagnesemia in dairy cattle. When you are dealing with pastures, you have to make sure that your magnesium levels are proper so that you can avoid grass tetany. Magnesium, extremely important. A fair amount of it is needed by plants. It is easily leached, easily moved around, but it is also easy to replace through proper fertilization when you are planting crops.